And they give you the step files too. Cool. Yeah, definitely something that I will see if I can get a student interested in next week. Yeah, and the manual is as rich as their other manual. This is unbelievable. 247-page full color documentation on sizing and assembly. This is what's missing from a lot of open source design. I can't imagine how much work went into this. Here, I'll share my screen. Oh, I don't have it. Send request. But yes, amazing, John. I will definitely start playing with this. So we have about 15 minutes left if there's any other topics that we want to discuss.
Well, I'm eager to hear about the NIH and catalog progress. To me, that's the
So where we are
that's the weakest
stalled,
link we have.
yes. So I've got a student, but like chomping at the bit to get moving. And I submitted the invoice and it says processed, but I don't have a next step. So if I go into my Open Collective account, it says the invoice is paid, but we haven't gotten it in the mail. And so that's where we're stuck. I want to hire a team and I have a manager ready, but I can't open the job until the grant comes through.
Well, I don't know that it would have come by mail. I think you should call Evan directly, although I'm going to talk to him in a few minutes.
Yeah, if you
So
could
I'll
connect
ask
me
him
on
about
email,
that.
I'll follow up because I can email you. Like I can see that it's there. I submitted it on October 30th and it said the invoice is paid, but I haven't seen anything digitally or in the mail.
Okay.
And I've got this student who's very eager. I have my project manager who will be here through May, who's getting
Great.
like course credit, and they want to recruit a team of students, and they already have identified one of those students who's ready. And I just have to open up the position and click hire.
Great. Okay. I'll talk to them about it in 12
It
minutes.
has not been okay. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
My internet has not been.
We keep losing you a little bit. But Peter, wanted to make sure that you saw this. There's a new recommended hand model that people like.
Okay.
I'm going to send it to you. Free
Okay.
3D hands. And this is where I downloaded it. I just downloaded it. I haven't made one yet. This is fresh off the presses. New design this month that looks very promising. And Andrew, what we were just talking about there was information design thing that we're working on to move all of the hub resources somewhere that's easier to sort and search. Because like this, when a new design comes out and we all want to move towards it, where do we put it? Like, how do we find all the right design for the right purpose? Like, what's the metadata schema and how do we even make the decision about what to pick? So this is the site as it stands today, which is very underdeveloped. And I've been taking longer than expected to recruit a team of students to move everything from the hub over here and then do the information design where we can have a banner at the top with like stuff like this that's recommended. And then you as a designer, when you're looking for the right hand, how do you search that? Do you want drop down? Do you want checkboxes? And then is it like by limb difference? Or is it by occupational therapy task? Or is it by family of hand design? Because there's been some mapping of the design like evolution of these different platforms. So much on the hub is like a cuff that goes to the cyborg beast or fingers that go to the phoenix hand. So we need some better way to search and sort and then narrow that down to what is actually useful for each individual project.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So that's, I think, our biggest e-NABLE contribution at the moment. We have a chapter. We're using it in coursework every semester. A class just made another 9 or 10 hands last month. And we're doing the Phoenix VD2 hands in class. But I think our biggest thing we're hoping to do that I think John thinks is our next big project that I'm trying to get the right people on board is this information design problem.
Mhm.
But I think this is a really great example of like ways to contribute. It's making stuff, and I think you have to make the stuff to understand the stuff. And then once you've done that, there's so many other things you can contribute to.
Yep. And do you know, I noticed Peter's dropped off again, but do you know him well? Is he, if he's part of a, well, I'm actually in Africa next month, and I wondered if I'm going through to Kenya, Tanzania, which I think he's based there in East Africa.
I don't
Um,
know him, but Sarah is in Africa and may
Yes.
have
Oh.
more connections.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I'm in Senegal currently, but am planning to go back to Kenya at some point. So stay in touch with me. I put my email in the chat earlier. So
Okay.
I'll just drop it in again. And yes, I've been speaking with Peter, and I'm so glad that that he was able to join a meeting today. But I wanted to ask just before we run out of time, because the recording started a little bit late. I was wondering, Ian, if you could just summarize some of the answers that you had for Peter, just about a best printer, just in case
Yeah.
he missed anything, so that when
Totally.
I talk to him, I can.
So I think there's lots of great printers today, like we've talked about. And I think the leader, if you want to learn to modify printers and use open source design and have the best slicer, is probably Prusa, in my opinion. There's lots of opinions.
Okay.
We really
How do
like
you-
Prusa, Prusa.
Okay.
The Prusa printers, which are the orange printers
Yes. Okay. I've seen.
that you see everywhere. But
Okay.
I don't know if those are the best if you don't already have a maker culture, or if you're not from engineering and you don't like to tinker. Those are great modifiable open source designs. But if you just want the best output per dollar today, I would probably go with Bamboo Labs. And I put a link in there to the Bamboo Labs machines. They print very fast, and they're more modular part interchanges if you have failures. And we've seen very low failure rates. They do use a fork of Prusa Slicer, the same software, but with a streamlined interface. So you can get under the hood, but at the top level, there's less than half a dozen variables. And if you really just want to make stuff, the other bonus there is they cost a lot less. So if you want a direct drive printer that can do flexible material, on Prusa, you're going to spend close to $1,000 per machine. Where for a similar print volume, you can spend around $300 to $400 for the Bamboos. And Prusa does a multi-material changing, but I think Bamboo's implementation is a little easier to maintain and get prints out of. So the AMS color switching platform on Bamboos is amazing, and they've simplified a lot of it. And you can run it through a phone or from a computer, so it's easier to have multiple devices monitoring it. And it has some niceties like a camera on it that you can watch remotely. I think the coolest thing for me is how they did the multicolor switching, which we've seen for years, going back to like the diamond hot end or just pause and swap. I really like how they have a cutting blade where when they have multiple materials going into one nozzle. And instead of unloading, it never unloads. It just cuts and purges. And all of the trouble with FDM machines comes during the unload because we have expansion of plastic and it causes nozzle jams, which causes maintenance and repair problems. Bamboo has avoided that whole conversation by only pushing through, never pulling up. And we've had one already where it fails to cut. And there's got to be some, I don't know the architecture well enough, but there's got to be some sort of Hall sensor in there because it popped up an error and said, like, we've noticed that the cutting blade didn't pop out after it cut. And it paused the print and allowed you to maintenance it. So I've had, like all FDM, there's a pretty high percentage of failure in the like 10 to 20%, even if it's going well. And when that happens on the Bamboo, it does a really good job of pausing and alerting you and then resuming very seamlessly without losing the time you've already spent on the print. So those are the reasons that I kind of am leaning towards that for new people or for people at home. I don't know if the bamboo is the right choice if you're going to have 100+ people touching the machine every week. That's our use case. In here, why we don't have them is mainly because people bang on our machines. They're super high mileage. They need a lot of maintenance. So we have a little more open source modifiable machines, but we also have built a culture of repair where we have a lot of people that repair them every week. So it's like, right, there's no one size fits all. And this is all just within like FDM, low cost, if you kind of want to make the popular e-NABLE models. I think there's no actual best use case, but what I was hearing from Peter, it sounds like I'd recommend Bamboo Labs. I don't know, Andrew, do you think that's a complete answer, Andrew? How would you respond?
Oh, well, I'm nowhere near the sort of level of experience, but I think what you said makes sense is for people who don't have that engine, you know, the hands-on sort of need, they just want to be able to take files and print them. Bamboo's very reliable. And that Quiddy one that you put up as well, I found that to be super reliable as well. And so if you're starting out and you don't have the time, spend the time and effort trying to fix things, those two plug in and turn it on, really, though, I think. Yeah.
We're also getting really interested in the low-cost 3D scanners, which may help you adapt public designs for better fit to whatever limb difference you're fitting to.
That's something I'd be interested in is because they seem to be. I looked at some scanners; they're all around like $1,000, $2,000. I couldn't believe it. The machines are cheaper than the scanners.
And the scanners are actually getting even cheaper. So we have been using, like one scanner that we can afford institutionally that everyone has to share. That's like very good. But we've been seeing a bunch of vendors. Even Reality now has some low-cost scanners. I've been really liking, out of all of the ones I've tried in the lower cost bracket, the RevoPoint systems, where you can get a scanner for under $500. You can get a scanner for about $300 if you're doing like a upper limb shaped thing. And the point clouds are like 0.1 millimeter. Obviously, like a very expensive scanner is going to do a slightly better job, but it's not going to do 10x the job. I'm feeling like these structured light systems are having the same curve that FDM had 10 years ago, where it's going from a couple manufacturers that like Faro and Artec and Berkman systems that are super high end, like $100,000 systems, coming down to sub $500 systems that aren't quite the fidelity, but are close. And the killer point for me with RevoPoint was the software. Again, we're very we want the software to map to the hardware. Their software is free and it runs on everything. It runs on Mac, runs on PC. They have an Android version. I think they now have an iOS version. So that's a huge barrier for us, like having a classroom set where everyone can use the software or take their files home. It's kind of cool. And the software is not quite as powerful, but it's good enough. And especially if we're working at like human physiology scale, it's definitely good enough. And like for FDM resolution, like if you're trying to make a photocopier that does 3D things, these are kind of amazing machines. And again, all of this changes at different scales, and all of this changes at different materials and different tolerances. I think with scanning, I sort of see 3 tiers. There's like the good enough for digital literacy. There is good enough for like a academic analysis or a project or fabrication, and then preservation level. And so I don't think these low-cost ones are preservation level yet, but they are definitely like rapid prototyping quality for sure. And we're at the end of our hour, but we'll be back next month. And Andrew, I would really recommend going to some of those town halls. I think you'll find a juicy project to pick up.
Yeah, I'll look them up. I know that there's a calendar online that shows the dates and times and things. So yeah.
Andrew, so the next town hall is going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern time, December 6th. So we have town halls the first and third Friday of every month.
Okay. Yeah.
And please give me your email if you're not already on the mailing list and you want to receive the monthly newsletter and calendar. So usually at the end of each month or at the beginning of the month, I will send out a calendar that has our most updated meeting schedule, and maybe some other notes from the community or opportunities for volunteers. So yeah,
Okay, thanks, Sarah. I just sent my email in the chat if you can see that.
right. I got it. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm always happy to geek out about hardware or troubleshooting in between meetings, but I'll be back here
Okay.
next month. And we can always continue the conversation or talk through the hub.
Great. Thanks very much for your patience and explanations. Cheers.
I love this stuff. We do this all day, every day. So good luck. And I hope you can find some really interesting, meaningful projects.
Thanks very much. Yeah, cheers, Ian. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Sarah.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
great week.
Thanks.
Thank
And
you.
Ian, let me know when you are free next month for.
Yes,
The next-
we'll put it on the calendar.
Okay, great.
Bye.
Bye.